In this video, we're going to be thinking about the different types of circulatory systems that are present in different animals and what advantages and disadvantages they may give to the animal that they are in. So to start with, we've got two main types. We've got closed circulatory systems, and that can be split into a double circulatory system or a single circulatory system. And this really is dependent on the heart. If the heart has two chambers, it just pushes the blood once around the body in a single circulatory system. That would be an example of that would be a fish. And if the heart has four chambers, it pushes the blood first around the lungs to pick up oxygen and then gets repressurized and pushes it around the body to deliver the oxygen at a higher pressure. And that would be an example of that would be in mammals. In you have a double circulatory system. Now, an open circulatory system is found in insects, and it's where there's a heart and there are arteries, but then the liquid just squirts straight out to the end of the arteries and bathes the cells and then finds its way back into the heart and then repeats the system. So those are our different types of circulatory system that we are going to consider today. Here is the closed double circulatory system. So you should be very familiar with this. This is what is in you. And you can see if we follow blood starting here in the heart, it is first of all sent around the pulmonary circuit. So it goes towards the lungs. So anything that is pulmonary is related to the lungs. It's coloured blue here to indicate that it is currently deoxygenated. As it passes through the capillaries in the lungs, gas exchange takes place. So carbon dioxide leaves the blood, oxygen enters the blood. And as the capillaries rejoin and form the vein, the pulmonary vein, it returns to the heart. So you've got one circuit that goes from the heart through the lungs and back to the heart again. Now the blood gets pressurized again, this time on the left side of the heart, really high pressure this time, and it gets pumped out through the main artery, the aorta, down to various organs in the body. And this will include everything from the head, the skin, the liver, the kidneys, the legs, so any systemic part of the body that is not the lungs. In the capillaries branch out, oxygen is delivered, carbon dioxide is picked up by the blood, all the nutrients have been used up by the organs, and the blood gets returned to the heart again, and then it will get repressurized to go around the lungs. So we have two circulatory systems around the lungs. So we go around the lungs, back to the heart, and then around the body and back to the heart. Around the lungs, back to the heart, around the body, and back to the heart. Now, the advantages of this are mostly to do with pressure. So when we send blood through the pulmonary circuit, we need to be careful not to damage the capillaries. So if we needed high enough pressure to get around the whole body, you would damage the delicate capillaries in the lungs. Mustn't do that. That would be very bad for gas exchange. So we can actually send the blood through the pulmonary circuit at a lower pressure than we send the blood around the rest of the body. And that comes in the heart structure here. You can see the wall of the part of the heart, the ventricle that sends the blood to the lungs, is thinner than the wall of the part of the heart, the ventricle, that sends the blood to the rest of the body. So we've got different pressures. Let's have a look at how this differs from a single circulatory system. So this is still closed, everything's still flowing inside tubes. The capillaries are leaking out things, but essentially the blood system is a closed set of tubes. But you'll notice the difference here is in the heart. So in our heart here, we have only two chambers. We have a ventricle that is going to pump the blood around the body, but this time it goes via the gas exchange surface. So in a fish, that would be the gills. And then after that, once it's oxygenated, it just goes straight onto the body. It doesn't get repressurized. It then visits the capillaries in various parts of the body, the systemic capillaries. So the muscles of the back, the muscles of the fins, the digestive system. So it visits all those capillaries. And then it gets sent back via a main vein back to the collecting chamber of the heart before moving through a valve and to be pressurized again and sent off to the gills. So the single loop is all that happens in a fish circulatory system. Now, this is because, fish are cold-blooded, or at least they maintain the temperature of their environment. They have a lower metabolic rate because of that. Mammals are warm-blooded. We have to have a higher metabolic rate. So this is sufficient in terms of the speed of flow to meet the needs of a fish. So we don't need to repressurize and send the blood quickly around the body. The low pressure coming from the capillaries of the gills is enough to then work its way around the body and go back to the heart to meet the metabolic needs of a fish. The last type of circulatory system that we'll look at is found in insects. This is an open circulatory system, and you will notice from the diagram at the bottom that is not a complete set of tubes. And that is why we don't call it blood inside those tubes, we call it hemolymph. Essentially, it's performing the same role as blood. It is a liquid that carries and transports nutrients. And in fact, the heart in an insect is really only passing around nutrients from the digestive system, because insects have a whole other system for delivering oxygen, which we will cover later. So the main role of hemolymph is to deliver digested nutrients to the cells of the insect. So what happens is the liquid starts in the heart. The heart has a series of valves to stop the hemolymph flowing out of the wrong bits. So the valves direct the hemolymph into the arteries. The arteries are open-ended, so the hemolymph just comes out and covers all the cells in the body. And then the way that the valves are set up, the low pressure as the heart pumps, it kind of sucks liquid back into it to continue a circular journey. It's still a circle, it's still a circulation, but it's just not within closed tubes. And you can see that in this little moving animation up here. Blood comes out of the holes, the open arteries, and then just kind of gets sucked back into this tubular heart made of valves that runs along the back of the insect. So still doing many of the same functions, still transport, and there's still a pump, there are still arteries, but it just isn't closed. There's no need for capillaries because the liquid just directly bathes the cells.